a lot of us don't have a savings account for lawyer fees. So we have to get a public defender who may have 75, 80 cases, too
That's
many
right.
for one person to handle. At that point, they're making deals with the prosecution, because if you're the prosecutor and I'm the defense attorney, but I have 80 cases, I'm one person. So you know what? I'm going to scan all these cases. Nah, he can take a plea on this. He can take a plea. I'm knocking them down in order of importance. Now I got a big case. I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to do a little work on this one. But let me see if they'll take a plea first, because that's less work I have to do. I'm going to get the same paycheck whether I do 2 cases or 200 cases. So now an individual is sucked into that. Or if they get a lawyer, it still comes out to, okay, we'll offer you a plea deal. And unfortunately, in these United States, if you are offered a plea deal and you turn it down and take it to trial, there's a high probability that you will receive more time than the plea deal that was offered to you.
Right.
It's
and you
setup.
still, you missed, maybe put a pin right there, because now we got to look at how young the parents are. What type of parenting have they had? Are there drugs involved? Because now the child is angry because daddy's not in the house. Mama's talking bad about him. But the child, the young boy or the girl, see their father out there as a drug dealer making big-time money. So there's so much pressure on that child that people don't realize how much pressure is on that child's mind. He got to go to school every day. Yes, he's angry. He's angry because I didn't eat last night. I didn't have no breakfast this morning. Now I got to wait till lunchtime. So there's so much going on in that little child's mind that he wants to act up. Yes, he's angry. He wants to vent and fight somebody. So there's a lot that's going on with these children at school that we're not paying attention. Now, you talked about back in the day, that village, those kind of things. Miss So-and-so would feed some of the kids in the neighborhood. We don't have her no more. We don't have the big mamas no more. The big mamas now is 40 years old.
and that's a big change, because you're right. Because, I mean, the closer I get to 50 now, I look and I remember thinking that 50 was old, because my mother and my aunts and uncles, they were like in their 50s, but it was an old 50. Like, it was an old soul 50, not an old broke down 50, but they looked and acted so, and I guess because they had already dealt with everything from the civil rights movement up until now, the BS games, it was over. You know, my parents were 35 when I was born. So by the time I was 15, they were already 50 years old. And I was like, man, you know what? I hope I'm not this daggone mean when I get to 50. But as I get older, all of the things that I said I would never say to my son, I've already said them. You know, and it's like, you know, so they get younger and younger. Yes, sir.
2 things. One, I need to get from Bessie how folks can get in touch with her. And I just got a text, so I need you to look at the line, because I think that we might have to shift to a little bit of our creative side as well, because it seems to me that Jaki says she's on the call, which is our poet. Oh, yes, I'm also expecting.
Cool.
So if you will, Bessie, let us know how folks can get in touch with you if they're interested in learning more about your organization, Straight Talk. We love having Straight Talk on Straight Talk, by the way. And also, if they just want to get in touch with you in general to learn more about all that you're doing and have done. And I'm so glad that you were on, and I want you to stay on the line, and if you have some other things that you want to interject, you can. And also, I would love to have you come back on in the very near future.
Oh, certainly.
Love having you on.
Anytime I'll come on. I got a lot to say. I got 25 years of stuff to say.
Sounds good.
So my number,
how would they reach you?
Email address is stsg2013 @gmail.com. And my phone number is 919-599-5125.
Cool. All right. Well, we thank you very much for joining us tonight, and I'll be in touch with you.
Okay, thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
All right. Have a good night, man. You can still hang on with us. We're just gonna bring the next person into the show right now in 1 second.
All right. Thank you.
Are you enjoying the smoothest conversation in podcasting? Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. Hi, this is DJ Smooth Jazz, syndicated radio host and co-owner of Portfolio Group LLC, your smooth jazz lifestyle and entertainment group with offices in Durham, North Carolina. Portfolio Group LLC specializes in promoting the lifestyle of smooth jazz listeners with the promotion of smooth jazz events and the distribution of African American owned wines. For more information, portfoliogroupllc.com, or you can swing by my secondary site, djsmoothjazz.com. Now back to Straight Talk with Dean and Mark.
And we are back. So good evening. Thank you for calling Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. You are on the line. Who do we have the pleasure of speaking with this evening?
Hi, this is Jaki Shelton Green.
Hello.
Hey, Jaki Shelton Green. This is Mark Lee. We have got the pleasure, Dean, of talking to not just anybody from North Carolina, but this is actually the North Carolina Poet Laureate. North Carolina the Poet Laureate system.
Nice.
And Jaki is our current Poet Laureate. I believe, are you the first sister, or maybe even the first African American that we've had in Poet Laureate? I could not remember, but I think that you definitely have one of those honors. I cannot remember which one it is, Jaki.
You didn't do your research?
Uh-oh.
I did some of the research, sweetie.
I am the first. I am the first African American laureate appointed, and the third woman.
The third woman,
nice.
And I knew there was other women there, and I thought that she was the first African American that was appointed. And one of the things that I must say about Jaki is that she has always been an advocate of bringing poetry to all the people. So we had Bessie on earlier that was in the whole doing prison advocacy work. And one of the things that I do know about you, Jaki, is that your poetry work covers a wide variety of things. You talk about things that of your growing up in some of your poetry, and I know that you've even had some of your prisons and done some of your poetry in the prison system. You're not one of those people that's afraid to go into those systems. You've actually done some work in the penal system with poetry.
Yeah, so for the past 45 years, I was working with prisoners in Connecticut in the 70s extensively, and when I moved here in the 70s, I got involved with the correctional system of North Carolina and have been doing extensive work with with women on death row, women in the prison system, and some visits to some of our, like regional county prisons doing literacy and poetry. So for all of these years, I really stand for the mission of taking poetry to the people and helping people find their own poetry, helping people realize that their stories are so worthy to be told. And there are, the table is big enough, many, many voices that need to emerge. So sometimes we've got to get out of our own way and not become the gatekeepers deciding who's in and who's out. But we have to make way for young people and differently abled people and the many, many voices, across this state to come forth. And I meet some pretty amazing writers, in the prison system and beyond that, public schools and public libraries. Last Monday and today, I was at Biscuitville, of all places. So Biscuitville has taken on this big launch for me during Black History Month by creating a bookmark with my picture on it and a bio, and on the back is an image of Nina Simone and a short bio, and it's a free sausage biscuit. So I am more interested in the people that I meet, in a place like Biscuitville, people who don't ordinarily who really don't know what a poet laureate is, or really have no reason to care about what a poet laureate is, than I am all of the, the canon. Academia is going to always be there, but it's really the people that we need to try and reach. And so this has been today was just awesome and fabulous, just meeting all of these people of all different hues and walks of life, class, you name it, who were there, who were excited. And I read with the poet laureate of A&T University and 2 other young poet women. So I think we have to think outside of the box in terms of where poetry lives. It's not always in a book. It's not always, in academia. Sometimes it's in the barbershop. Sometimes it's on the block. Sometimes it's 5 little girls jumping jack rocks. And I think that's where we need to show up more. So that's been my kind of from whence I enter, is to be available.
And you don't, and like I mentioned before, you've always been one of those poets that is definitely willing to tackle issues, and not just like I mentioned, because we had Bessie on your work with the prison system, but you've also been one of those people that's been at the forefront of using your poetry as a voice for those that are fighting with issues around immigration and diversity and things of that nature. You wrote the anthology Poets for Peace. So I was just wondering if you could share how you got involved with that as well, because, it just seems to me that part of your mission has always been to be a true griot in the true sense of the word, and in the sense that you're actually not just creating the work, but you're also encouraging others to find their voice.
Yeah, so Shelley once said that poets are the legislators, we are the legislators of the world, the true legislators of the world, and I believe of the heart. And, the United Nations used to have a World Poetry Day. And it was pretty magnificent, because people from different countries, all of the ambassadors and people had to read a poem, from their country that represented something about their culture. And I think we've gotten far, far away from the role of the artist in politics, the role of the artist in social justice, the role of the artist in terms of economic development. All we have to do is look back to the 60s and look at all of the protest music and, that came out of the civil rights movement, the black poets of the 60s and 70s, the emergence. It was like a renaissance, like the Harlem Renaissance, happening all over again. And we look at Ireland, you think of the IRA movement and all of the protest music and poetry that came out of that revolution. So, we have to be truth tellers, and that's what I stand for every time I pick up a pen. Is, my thing is like, what is the usefulness of this poem? James Baldwin said, if we're just making art to be making art, why, what's the use? That it should change something. It should mean something. So I think I answered your question, did I?
You did. You totally answered the question, and that's one of the things that we talked about on this show before, is just how important the art is with activism. And even currently, I think that I've seen poets involved with things like Black Lives Matter, with the Me Too movement and things of that nature. You often find poets are actually the ones that are using some of their poetry. Earlier, before either you or the other guest got on, I was talking to Dean, and I was mentioning Ms. Cortez, the legislator, and it seems to me that some of what she says, almost, even though I don't know that she calls herself a poet, it seems to have almost a poetic tone to it, the way that she speaks and the way that she conversates about some of the issues. And I think I've heard that with other activists and leaders. You definitely heard it in some of Jesse Jackson's speeches back in the day and things of that nature, and definitely Martin's speeches, I would say, had a very poetic nature to them and everything. So I just
there are poets. Yeah, there are actual poets that came out of these movements, and we're documenting the move. It's the musicians and the poets and the theater people and the dancers that have really documented that movement. The language of those activists. So the activists were not artists themselves, but certainly their spirit, lives on in books. And there's a whole curriculum around protest, how to teach, not how to teach, but teaching poetry that moves the